Good evening. This is CTV News for Friday, September 14th. I'm Patricia Valone.
And I'm Denise Douglas. Glad to have you with us this evening. Well, topping our news tonight is the weather. Hurricane Florence is impacting portions of North and South Carolina right now and will continue to batter the mid-Atlantic with high winds and heavy rain, Patty.
Yes, and Janine Samuels is at FEMA in the district with an update.
That's right. I'm at the National Response Coordination Center, and it really is a coordinated effort between both federal and volunteer agencies, as well as the military. And as you can see, it is literally all hands on deck. On an average day, 5 people are here. Today, about 175. Now, I am here with James Joseph. He is a senior administrator with FEMA. Can you give us an update on the hurricane?
So obviously the hurricane made landfall this morning, and just as we expected, regardless of Category 4 coming down to a 3, 2, and a 1, we're still seeing the heavy winds. We saw the high storm surge this morning in some areas estimated between 9 to 10 or even 11 feet of storm surge, and that brought in a deluge of water. And just as we expected, as this system starts to slow down after landfall, we're seeing copious amounts of rain throughout parts of North Carolina, South Carolina, and even up into Virginia.
All right. Now, I mentioned before that this is a coordinated effort. Can you talk about who's in this room?
Absolutely. So emergency management is a whole community effort. In the room behind us here, you see 175 people from almost every federal agency that has a response role in the emergency support functions, as well as military partners from the Department of Defense. We have non-governmental organizations like the Red Cross and even private sector partners, because what many people don't realize, over 70% of the critical infrastructure in our country is owned by the private sector. So we're talking about power grids, communications towers, a lot of the water sector. Those are things that we want to make sure are up and running. So we're partnering with everyone here, and all of this is not a unique federal response. This is in support of state and local partners on the ground.
Now, for people that don't know, what is everyone actually doing?
So it depends on what their function is. We may have liaisons here from the American Red Cross that are focused on supporting the sheltering needs. Right now in North Carolina, South Carolina, there's over 150 shelters that are open, and some 10,000 people that have been sheltered there overnight. So they're really focused on what their shelters need that are out in the field, what state and local shelters may need, and they want to support that by providing resources to them. We'll have the Department of Energy here. So as the private sector looks to reconnect power and to repair the power grid and some of the utilities that have been impacted, they're focused on working with them and supporting their efforts and their needs. So we have emergency support functions ranging from communications to power to transportation to public works, and they're working with their state and local counterparts to ensure that any gap that the state or local community has, the federal government can support them with.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for taking a little bit of a break to come talk to me. Really appreciate it. Now, just so that you know, this room is pretty much going to stay this busy until weather conditions improve, and we obviously appreciate all of the hard work that is going into this effort. At the National Response Coordination Center in D.C., I'm Janine Samuels for CTV News.
Thank you, Janine. Absolutely right. Definitely appreciate that hard work. Meanwhile, Hurricane Florence claims the life of a mother and infant in North Carolina. Police say a tree fell on their house earlier today, killing them. The father, who was also in the house, was transported to the hospital with injuries. The storm has been downgraded to a Category 1. However, the storm will remain a threat. It has already changed. Severe damage along the East Coast. Multiple videos and pictures on social media of flooding, buildings being torn down from the heavy winds, and more have been seen. Officials are telling residents to prepare for more severe weather tonight and to expect flooding to last throughout the week.
Well, one of Prince George's own has been deployed to South Carolina to help out during Hurricane Florence. Battalion Chief John Bender works with the Urban Search and Rescue Response Team, coordinated by the Federal Emergency Management Agency. His colleague says Bender is a structural collapse specialist and member of the technical rescue team.
John's main role is here as a collapse rescue specialist, and he'll be doing those same types of duties down there with the USAR team.
Tell me what that entails.
So, locating victims, urban areas with the flooding and the hurricane that's going through, a lot of location and building marking. Also, if there is collapse with the wind and the water, to mitigate those situations and find victims.
And Bender's team is part of Maryland Task Force 1 based in Montgomery County.
We are expecting heavy rain in the DMV area with Hurricane Florence making its way up the East Coast. The downfall means driving can be dangerous. CTV spoke with AAA about the top tips to remember when driving in this type of weather.
Speed limit is set for ideal conditions, which means you should slow down, give yourself some more space between you and the next vehicle because you are going to need that extra space for stopping distance. If you have tires that are worn out a little bit, that's going to take you at least another 87 feet or like a semi-truck in order to stop between you and the next vehicle. If you have to be on the road, watch for water pooling on the sides of the streets, move into the center lane if you need to. Make sure you look in your rearview mirror, turn around, and make sure there's not another vehicle coming at you before you make that decision to go in the next lane.
Okay, and of course you probably know this, but it is worth repeating. AAA says if the wind or rain is really bad, do not drive. As Florence churns over the Carolinas, the National Weather Service has issued a coastal flood warning for St. Mary's, Charles, Calvert, and Anne Arundel counties. A coastal flood watch is also in effect at locations along the Potomac River and Chesapeake Bay today through Saturday night. We could also see heavy rainfall Sunday night into Monday, depending on the hurricane's track.
The Maryland Healthcare for All Coalition has come out in support of Attorney General Brian Frosh in an effort to protect the Affordable Care Act. Now, Frosh says he's seeking a declaratory judgment that Obamacare is constitutional and that the Trump administration must stop trying to undermine it. The suit follows the Fed's refusal to defend the ACA in a Texas case that seeks to dismantle the law.